It's Valentine's Day, and you know what that means. No, not roses, not chocolates, not sonnets, not love poetry. No, it is time for a Premier League tier list, Valentine's style. Obviously, this is the content that you have subscribed to this channel for: in-depth analysis, football vlogs, and ridiculous tier lists. Why not have proper serious analysis and also jokes and vibes at the same time? That's literally what this channel is for. If you're new here and that sounds good to you, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And also leave a like on the video whether you are new or are a returning viewer. And if you're not a returning viewer, hi, how are you? As you know, my name is LNobbins, and it is time to get into the tier list. Make sure to follow me on Twitch, by the way. The link is in the description if you want to join our live streams. We do gaming, football watch-alongs, and I also host football quizzes. So if you like my content and you want even more of it, come over to the Twitch, twitch.tv/LNobbins, and the link is in the description. Starting from the bottom, it's a restraining order, it's a red card. This is the worst day in the history of the universe. In fact, I just might stand you up because it's so terrible in idea and notion. I'm gonna sneak out the toilet window on this tier because the date is going awfully. I don't know why I agreed to let you take me out, but there we go. No dessert, just the bill and 2 taxis, please. You aren't taking me home. You are not getting lucky tonight. I don't even want to eat anything sweet. I do not want a sweet treat. I just want to get out of the restaurant as soon as possible. A decent night. The second date needed because it was a very good experience. As I say, decent, not over the moon with it. I do need a second experience just to really dig down into what I think about you as a man, as a human being, and potential future lover. Call me, baby. Call me, please. Chemistry, immediate. It's like electricity. Love the stuff. Call me again. I really want to have another date with you. And the top tier, the elite. My place or yours? What else do I need to say about that? The date went so well, we just need to go to the next stage immediately. Let's get cracking. Do you know what I mean? I'm assessing it based on who do I want to go on a date with. So I will be looking not just at aesthetics, so physical appearance, but also personality, what I gather from them from my interviews, and also I've got to do a bit of guesswork because, newsflash, I've not met any of these people, so I don't actually know what they're like as people. These are alphabetical by clubs, by the way, but we will start with the Arsenal manager, Mikel Arteta, and I can tell you right now, he's immediately going into my place or yours. Probably the most attractive manager on this list. Spanish accent is always a good thing. Obviously, I will be not interrogating these people at dinner, but I will be discussing football with them over our meal. So I do need them to have a degree of intelligence in respect to the game. Look at his looks, look at his hair, look at his beard, look at his eyebrows, just look at his face. Just look at his face. Steven Gerrard next, and he could be going into my place or yours. I haven't seen enough of his personality as a manager. Based on that, I don't want to overcommit myself. He is a good looking man. I'm not a fan of the Scouse accent, so I think that would distract me a little bit. I guarantee when the waiter asks him anything, he'll just go, chaos. And that's going to really annoy me as the night goes on. It's like, oh, he's going to say the thing, and I just hear, chaos. Also, if a waiter or waitress accidentally slips and falls, I feel like he's going to have some PTSD sort of stuff going on. Frank, the Brentford manager. I'd suggest there's a similarity between him and Gollum from Lord of the Rings. That's a huge insult. Based on his personality, I think, and I would like to chat to him, I'd like to, get into the depths of the whole Moneyball situation at Brentford. Not quite the level of Arteta or Gerrard in terms of the looks department. Another thing, by the way, guys, I will be going over what each of these managers will also be ordering in terms of their meal. So stay tuned for that at the end of the video when we've placed them all. Not quite got the looks that I'm personally after in this mental scenario that would literally never happen because it's mad, and yet you're watching it, so what does that make you? Everyone knows that I love Graham Potter, but I think the reality is he is in a decent night. I don't know why I think that. I think he would be very polite, I think he would be very courteous at dinner, but I think, if anything, he might be a bit too withdrawn, a bit too polite potentially, and not able to have the crack and the banter. I think in terms of interest level, probably maybe slightly higher than Thomas Frank. I don't think he's quite reaching the Gerrard level, though. Sean Dyche is another one. He's going to go in decent night, second date needs as well, because Sean Dyche is a really, really funny guy, comes across as. I do think he would be, not necessarily intentionally, but I do think he would come across as a bit aggressive in his tone, in his voice, even the way he dresses. Fair play to him. I think Sean Dyche would be one of those people where he'd turn up and he wouldn't necessarily be trying to impress me because he thinks, if anything, you've got to impress me, mate, but I'm looking at it from the perspective of, I am the date here, okay? And you need to be treating me as a queen. as a king, as a queen, whatever. So therefore, I think that Sean Dyche should be going into there. Tuchel. Don't think he's for me. And I'm not sure or convinced that he would actually be that interesting to talk to. I don't know why, he's just giving me that vibe that he would be a bit boring. Patrick Vieira is another interesting one, fantastic player back in the day. Look at his smiley face. He did spend some time at Man City as both a player and as a youth coach, so I can talk to him about that, pick his brain about that, talk to him about the Roy Keane rivalry that he had. That would be an interesting point of conversation as well. And he's got a bald head, so I can, slap that. That'd be a lot of fun as well. Obviously, because that's what you do with bald people, you slap their little bald head. That's normal, guys, remember, that is normal. Frank Lampard is a very pretty man. He's a very pretty man. I don't like this whole, Fat Frank thing. I've never even really seen him particularly overweight. He was a very good player back in the day. I personally think he's better looking than Gerrard. And in fact, I am going to pop him into my place or yours, because not only is he a good looking man, as I say, also a fantastic player back in the day, but he's also a very intelligent man. I believe he's a member of Mensa, which is the big boy brain club. Intelligent man. I think he'd be courteous. I think he'd be very polite. Look at him with a thumbs up friend. Marcelo Bielsa. This is very, very, very harsh. However, I have to be harsh here. I'm going on a date after all. This is the issue with Bielsa. No, I'm not talking about his pointy knees. As far as I'm aware, he doesn't speak English fluently. Now, maybe he does, and maybe he's putting on a facade in front of in interviews so that he doesn't have to deal with the press, the media, who want to ask him in English questions so he can feign ignorance, because he must be able to speak in English to a degree. However, I've got to base it on the assumption, if he's going to bring a translator to a Premier League press conference or post-match interview, I've got to assume he's going to be bringing a interpreter / third wheeler to our date. And that is just going to ruin the whole vibe. I do not want a third wheeler on my date with a Premier League manager. It doesn't matter how nice the interpreter is, they're just going to be sort of like existing, and it's going to be this really awkward trio dynamic where I ask Bielsa a question, are you enjoying your steak? And he doesn't understand what I'm saying, so I've actually got to direct the question at the interpreter, so that's already a bit of a weird one, no eye contact. I've got to say, is he enjoying the steak? And the interpreter goes, but in Spanish, and then Bielsa says, again, in Spanish. And then the interpreter says to me, yeah, it's all right, or whatever. And by that point, the chemistry's gone. There is no chemistry. So because of the lack of English to a fluent standard, based on what I've got to assume, it's either he brings his interpreter as a third wheel and the night is ruined. Because and if we're going to go out later, what we're going to go to a club and he's just going to be like hanging around there while we're dancing? I don't think so. So that's already a weird one. But then the second issue is that he comes on his own, and I've no idea what he's saying, and he's no idea what I'm saying, and it's like that scene or those scenes in The Little Mermaid. But basically, Ariel can't speak. Basically, there's a lack of communication between the two, and it's this really weird. And he's not as good as looking as Ariel is to the prince chap. Okay, he is not a princess. Ariel is a princess. Bielsa is not. So that's another issue. If he could speak English, he'd be much higher up this list, because I feel like he would be a very interesting chap to speak to. The reality is just no. Brendan Rodgers, no one's been in here, and I think I would be sneaking out the toilet window with Brendan Rodgers, and that is very harsh. That is very, very harsh, I think. However, I also think it's justified. Even though I think he would be quite funny, and maybe even charming and entertaining, he strikes me as the sort of person who would, snap at a tiny thing. So maybe someone gets their order wrong, for example. I don't know, maybe yours is a steak, well done, like a maniac, and they give it to him medium, and I feel like a little thing like that he would properly pop off, not just say, oh sorry, I asked for it this, could I have another one please? He'd go insane, and he'd go out his way to try to, and he thinks he's impressing me. He thinks I'm gonna be the big I am. I'm gonna demonstrate to this young stallion, because that's what I am. I mean, just look at me. By flouting it around, not with his knob, but sort of flouting around his power and being like, look, I know people, I can get you fired, sort of thing. And he's going to think, oh yeah, this chap, he's going to be well impressed with that power play. But in reality, I'm going to be thinking, God, you're a knob, aren't you? So I don't think we'd click in that sense. There wouldn't be a connection. He's trying too hard, not only in his managerial career, but also in respect of his dating career with me. Let's leave these three for now. The Liverpool, City and United manager, just because they might be the most interesting, so we'll save those for last. Eddie Howe. Current Newcastle manager. I loved him when he was at Bournemouth. He's very well spoken, I think he probably would be very charming. I think he would be dressing to impress as well. And honestly, I think he should be going up here in Call Me Baby now. Maybe there. I think he should be going up there in terms of Call Me Baby because, as I say, he's got the looks, he's got the interest, he's got the charm. Dean Smith is another odd one. I don't know. No, again, I can just tell. You're not my type physically. I don't know. I just don't know, Dean. I feel like he would not shut up about Jack Grealish. And I would be having a lot to say about Jack Grealish if he was piping up. I'd be like, oh, Dean, just get over it, mate. To be honest, just eat your pickles. Hasenhüttl is another one where I think, yeah, it may be interesting, sort of. In fact, he's just got a point against Old Trafford, so maybe we could talk about that. I think he'd be all right. He wouldn't blow me away in more ways than one. Bruno Lage is this chap called? I think I pronounced his name correctly there. I think he'd be going there, to be honest. Maybe slightly above Brendan. Actually, no. Because one of the reasons why is because when I see Wolves play, gosh, they're boring. Gosh, I appreciate that they don't play. I haven't watched every single Wolves game, so I'm sure they'll play more expansive against teams they're stronger than. But goodness me, especially when they came to the Etihad, they were so full of like gamesmanship, and they were so dive happy, and they were fouling all over the place, and there was so much time wasting. It was so boring and dead. I do think he'd be bloody boring. I can already tell that we aren't going to have too much in common. He's probably, I don't know the exact ages, but he's probably one of the oldest ones on this list. Similar with Brendan, he does come across as someone who could just snap like that, like where he looks into you with his death eyes and death stare. I just think that would be a thing, I don't know. Claudio Ranieri is a lovely, lovely man. However, there is an issue in that literally everyone would be assuming that I've gone on a date with my grandfather. That's a little bit sus, even though I think he would be very funny to be. I prefer it if we could go out as mates. But we aren't going out as mates in this paradigm, in this dynamic. We are going out as not even lovers necessarily if we don't go up to the height is, but you know, as potential as a date. It's a romantic affair. Even though he's slightly older, I'm going to pop him in decent night, second date needed, just because of that charm. And if people ask questions, I can just, you know, while he sneaks away to the toilet, I can just say, I'm just here with my granddad, like, oh, okay. I wouldn't mind going out with him again, but it would become not a romantic thing. They would just be friends at the end of the day. Antonio Conte, very stylish man, potentially a little bit obsessed with his looks in respect he got a hair transplant, didn't he, or something. He's another one of those where he could be properly mental, but he's Italian. And Italians are very, as with Ranieri, very sophisticated. They know their food. So I tell you what, actually, I've totally changed my mind, actually. I've totally changed my mind. He's going in here. The Italian factor is doing it for me. I do like Italian and Spanish food and the accent and the language. So I do think that he would be going in there. Speaking of Spanish, let's do Pep. And look, obviously he's top of the list. Obviously, he's easily the most interesting out of all of these people. I am a Man City fan as well. He's obviously a Man City manager. This is who I would go on a date with. Obviously, I want to pick his brains about Man City. Unless you're like, you know, a United fan or whatever. I feel like he would be the person you'd want to talk to the most. I do think he is the manager who knows the most about football. I think that helps. I would genuinely, I mean, it might ruin the meal, but depending on how we go, you know, if we're flirting and stuff, I can throw in a quick little cheeky joke. I would love to know his reasoning for the Champions League final against Chelsea. I would love to know why he didn't play either Fernandinho or Rodri. Why did he go into the Champions League final with City without a defensive midfielder? That's a genuine question. I would love to know the actual answer to that, because there must have been a reason. So little things like that, I'd have so many questions. He also does own a tapas restaurant. I believe it's Catalan focused. He owns I tried to go in at one time, but it was closed. He does own a Catalan restaurant in Manchester. So he'd probably take me there, you know, and he'd have all these dishes like popping out, you know, just bombarding me with Catalan delicacies. And be like, yes, Pep. And as with Vieira, he's got that lovely little bald head, which I can just, you know, smack around like that, and he'd just be lording it over. But unlike Brendan Rodgers, who'd be lording it over me in a weird way, Guardiola he'd do it in a sophisticated sort of way, and he'd just be like, yeah, I'm the greatest manager in the world. And I'd just be like, oh, Pep, to be honest, I think you are, mate. My place or yours? And he'd be like, we haven't even ordered starters yet. And I'd say, well, my place or yours. He's got the looks, he's got the knowledge, he's got the personality. He's got the restaurant. He's got the accent. He's got the taste. He'd come in a very good suit as well, I can already tell. Or one of his pretty sweaters or something. So yeah, I think that's fair enough. Ralf Rangnick is not my cup of tea aesthetically. Let's start with that. However, I do think he deserves to be in Call Me Baby. I think I'm going to have him just under Gerrard, but just above Eddie Howe. We're ranking vertically and horizontally, by the way. And the reason for that is because I've seen his interviews. Even before he joined Manchester United, I did a lot of research on Rangnick when I was doing a YouTube video on him. Subscribe if you like in-depth football analysis and mental bizarre tier lists. But he is I think he's a very well-spoken man. He's very intelligent, tactically astute in terms of his coaching. Whether he can achieve it at United remains to be seen with that particular squad. But I think he's got a very good football brain, which I would love to pick and discuss football about. And he is definitely the sort. There are some managers on this list. For example, I don't know, David Moyes. I feel like David Moyes would be really annoyed if I tried to talk football to him on the date, because he'd be like, I mean, maybe fair enough, he'd be like, look, I don't want to talk about work right now. But at the same time, this is a date with me, and you're damn right I'm going to be asking about your day job. So I do want to talk about football. Rangnick would be one of those people who would be more than happy to talk football with me. And now, the final one is Jurgen Klopp, who is, in my opinion, the second best manager on this list behind Guardiola. Liverpool manager. And I know this is going to upset a lot of people, particularly Liverpool fans who would love to go on a date with Klopp. But I'm going to put him in there. And I know, that's controversial. But this is my tier list. I don't know about Jurgen. I don't think he'd be good to hang around with. He strikes, same with Rodgers, maybe not actually. He strikes me as a very sort of hot and cold manager in respect of his personality. So, for example, let's compare him to I don't know, Pep, for example. If Pep City lost a game, I think that he would be able to compartmentalise it for the evening and would be able to have a lovely time, regardless of the event. He'd be like, oh yeah, we lost, but you know, it's a bit annoying, but I'm not going to let it ruin the evening. I think Klopp is the opposite. I think he would allow that to cloud his whole mood. So if Liverpool win before the date, brilliant. He'd be buzzing. He'd be well up for it. But if they lose, or if they draw, or if the performance isn't as good as he wanted, I think it would really affect it and impact his mood. Because I don't think he can compartmentalise. I don't think he can disassociate between football and the dating scene with your boy. I cannot risk having an angry German at dinner. He's a very tall man as well. That's a little bit potentially scary if he starts to pop off and kick off. I think he would also be a little bit passive, aggressive and snidey with the waiters regardless of what happened. And the way people treat waitstaff generally is how you can judge them as a person. I don't know why I think that. I just don't think that he would be that pleasant to have a date with, to go on a date with. I think he would still also be a little bit, maybe bitter isn't the right word, but he'd still have in the back of the mind the season where Liverpool nearly won the Premier League, but City picked them to it by 1 point. I think he's got a lot of baggage in that regard, Klopp, and I cannot be dealing with that on a date when I just want to eat my lovely meal. Like, no, it's just not a thing. But anyway, guys, that is the tier list. That is done. You can see it here in all its glory. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you all exactly what I think they would be eating in terms of what's their order going to be. Bielsa is going to go for garlic prawns. And Bruno is going to go, what would you eat, Bruno? What would you eat? He'd have some sort of like mental pizza, like an anchovy pizza or something. I don't know. Brendan Rodgers, he's a venison steak man. Jurgen Klopp, currywurst, obviously. David Moyes is a chicken korma. Thomas Tuchel is 100% going for something German. It wouldn't be something exciting like Klopp's currywurst, because that's a good order. It would be something a bit meh, like it would be like a sort of like standard German meal. And I'm going to say he's going to go for Spiegel, which is Bavarian pasta. Dean Smith is a steak and chips man, 100%. Frank, he'd have something cold. He'd have like, what's that cold tomato soup? I'm going to flash up on the screen what it is, because I've actually forgotten what the name of that is. He would have black pudding, English breakfast fry up. It doesn't matter where we are. It doesn't matter if we're at San Carlo, El Gato Negro, wherever. If they don't have it on the menu, he's going to make it on the menu. Hassan Hüttl, he'd have something exotic. Ostrich. He'd have ostrich steak, 100%. Graham Potter, he's definitely going for something vegan. Excuse me. He's definitely going to be having like a side salad, and then like a tofu, like, you know, like those Beyond Meat burgers. He'd have that. Claudio Ranieri, he keeps it simple, he keeps it Italian. It's spaghetti, aglio olio, peperoncino, because it's traditional for him, that's what he has. Patrick Vieira orders his fillet steak, but he has it blue. Eddie Howe, he spent a lot of time down south, in and around the coast area, and based on that, he's gonna have haddock and chips, but only the finest, obviously. Ralph Ranieri, I think he would surprise you. Some sort of Syrian dish or something, a bit mad, or something from Bangladesh. That sort of theme. Stevie G, definitely meat. I think he'd go for duck breast served with very skinny fries. Antonio Conte, again, is another Italian. He'd go for an Italian dish, and that dish is lobster, not lobster thermidor. He'd go for lobster ravioli. But speaking of lobster thermidor, that's exactly what Frank Lampard would have. Mikel Arteta, he would have tapas all day, every day. As would Pep Guardiola, however, it wouldn't be Spanish tapas, it would be Catalonian tapas from his restaurant. Thank you for joining me for this bit of a weird one. Normally we do tend to do in-depth football analysis, but sometimes I like to throw in a little cheeky, funny video. Well, I hope it's funny anyway. It's just like a really random mental tier list. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like the video no matter what. If you want me to be able to keep making these sorts of videos, do feel free to consider signing up to my Patreon, which you can join for as little as £1 a month. The link is in the description. Big shout out to Ben Holland, my Novel of Fire. You're a massive G. Thank you so much. And I will see you next time. Have a good day. Have a lovely Valentine's if you're single, or if you have a partner, or you're polygamous, or whatever the term is, or you've got 3 wives. Just have a lovely day. It's not just for couples, it's also for people who aren't couples. So have a lovely day. Bye bye.